again. It's very nice to see you again. I hope you've had a beautiful week. Mine has been awesome. I thank God. We thank God for the rain. We could complain about the rain, but we won't. We choose to say thank you because rain means growth, and rain means food, and rain means that there is more to life. There is life. So I am excited to be with you today. I am looking forward to our conversation as we continue to talk about self-awareness and how to increase how we feel about ourselves. So I will take you through this segment as we discuss how do you increase your sense of worth and your sense of self-confidence. So stay tuned. Live by Design with Grace Kariuki. So what is self-worth or self-esteem as we know it? And I also like to think of it as self-value. It is the way that you think about yourself, appreciating who you are, having a realistic sense of who you are, a realistic view of who you are. See, every one of us is created with an unconditional ability and capacity to have the kind of life that you want. You can be whoever you want to be. However, if your thinking about yourself is different and it doesn't create the ability for you to actualize and to be where you want to be, then you're going to have a difficult time reaching the goals that you believe that you can reach in your life. So that's what we are going to talk about today. We are going to talk about some of the tips that you can use in order to create the kind of life you want that comes from who you believe you are. Now, I'm going to also say here that because of the marketplace, the marketplace is where we get a lot of the belief system that make up how we see the world and how we see ourselves. So the wealth, for instance, education level, status, and also the experiences that we have had in our life. Those things, they actually affect the way that we see ourselves. So for instance, if I have an education that I don't believe is the highest that I can get, and for whatever reason I'm not able to get to that degree or that post degree or the PhD that I want, and for whatever reason I give it a lot of value, then what happens? I begin to feel that I'm not good enough. I feel that I haven't reached where I would like to reach. Maybe I was born in a family that has no status. Nobody knows who my father is. Nobody knows who my clan is. And that can also affect the way that I feel about myself. Poverty is another thing that affects the way that we see ourselves, the value that we feel, and even the confidence that we have that we can make a difference in our world. And we need to understand that. Maybe you went through very difficult circumstances growing up. Either it could be as bad as being molested sexually as a child, and you developed this feeling that you're not an important person. Nobody valued you because how could they do that to me? How could they hurt me in that way if they valued me? Sometimes it's because when you were growing up, you were a sickly child, and you see other children being able to play and do all kinds of things, and yet you can't do that, and you begin to second guess yourself, the value that you are, the person of value that you are supposed to be. And or you could have grown up in a home where one of your parents was an alcoholic or an addict, and there was domestic violence, there wasn't much of emotional support, there was a lot of criticism and judgment in the home, and you find yourself wondering why these things were happening to you and feeling that you are not a person of value. And so your self-esteem, your self-value, your self-worth was affected by that. But remember, when you were born, when you were created, there was value that was accorded you that was unconditional, that when you came into this world, you could have become anybody and anything you want to be. But because of these experiences, because of what the society communicated to you, then you have become limited as to how much you can be able to accomplish in your life. So how do you overcome all of this? Let me give you a few tips that will help. Number one, you've got to be self-aware about your negative self-talk. It is very important for us to understand that we do have a conversation that goes on in our mind. Anytime we want to do something, there is a conversation that comes. That conversation can be something like, oh, I'm so lazy, or I'm not good at that, oh, people will laugh at me, oh, people will not like my work. We can come up with all kinds of negative self-talk. Why? Because of the template that was laid. Because maybe when you are growing up, you are told you are not good enough, you can't do it, you cannot do it. I remember having a conversation with a friend, and we were talking about people who are always negative, even when there is no reason to be negative. For instance, you come and tell a person, oh, nimepata nyumba mahali fulani, wanakuuliza nani pesa ngapi, and then you say however much money you need to pay for the house, and they go like, hi, are you going to be able to afford that? They just pour water on your happy moment. And so that can actually come into you and begin to create that negative self-talk. So you need to be aware of that. Write down those negative self-talk, and then turn it around and change the story and write positive things about yourself. How do you find out what is positive about you? Look at the things that you do well. Look at the things that you know you are perfect in. Maybe you are able to make people laugh. Maybe people have even told you are such a loyal friend, you are a good listener, that you are a good planner. When you put your mind to do something, you stay the course until you finish. You are focused, and you are conscientious. You care about people. These things that people tell you, even if you don't believe them, write them down, because you see, you are able to identify your negatives, because that's what you have been told a lot, and that's what we as human beings, we tend to gravitate towards that negative. I don't know why we do that, but we also want to bring in your positives and write them down. The positive things, even if you don't believe it, write them down. I remember one time somebody telling me, oh, Grace, you have such beautiful eyes. I had never even paid attention to my eyes, but because I was trying to grow and I was trying to I started paying attention to my eyes. I started paying attention to the fact that they think I have beautiful eyes. Then I have this big hand. Can you see it? My hand is really big, and I used to feel negative about my hand until I met a bass guitarist, and he told me, Grace, if I give you a bass guitar, you can play it perfectly, because you have the fingers for it, you have the hand for it. And suddenly my hands were no longer big and not nice, but they were big and useful, and they would bring value to me. So whatever it is that you have heard that people tell you are the good things about you, take it, write it down, own it, look at it, study it, and embrace it, because that's who you are. And then the other thing is, we need to learn how to forgive ourselves, because each one of us have done stupid things. You know, those things that you remember and you roll your eyes at yourself and you say, I can't believe I did that. That was so embarrassing. Forgive yourself. Be compassionate to yourself. Tell yourself everyone makes mistakes. That doesn't make you a bad person. That just means that you are human. And then embrace the fact that you can learn from those negative experiences. Draw out of those negative experiences positive things that you can learn and you can improve yourself. Don't allow yourself to always look at the dark part of a situation. Also look at what you learn from that, because that is the positive that is going to help you to grow. For instance, if I go before an audience and I actually make a fool of myself because the subject I am asked a question and I can't answer it, and I feel so embarrassed that I didn't have the answer. Of course, I feel the embarrassment, but I'm not going to stop there. I am going to learn something from that. I'm going to tell myself that what is it that I learned from this experience. Very quickly, also, I want you to also think about this. Don't compare yourself with other people. Figure out what your strength is. I read somewhere where they are saying, channel the rock star within you. Sure, you don't sing that great, but you cook great. But you are so fashion conscious. You can put together something beautiful and you look great. Rock that self in you, the strength that you have. Stop looking at the strengths of others and your weaknesses, and look at that which you have. I remember that the story of Moses, when he stood before God and he started talking about, oh, I can't speak, I stammer and all that. And God said, what do you have in your hands? And so I end this video by asking you, what do you have in your hand? What do you do well? And rock it. Till next time, when we continue with the next segment on the tips on how to increase your self-worth, I am glad that you joined me. Continue to live by design with Grace Kariuki.